final Intellectual Salon of the semester. We will continue our salons next semester as well with the same topic, home. And we've got some very, very intriguing and provocative things to do next semester relative to home as well. We'll be talking about when humor is your home spot, when you return to humor for safety, for embarrassment or whatever. We'll talk about different cultures' view of home in the afterlife. We'll be around Dia de los Muertos. We'll be talking about Day of the Dead and coming home to visit all of your relatives and so on. We'll be also talking about our very, very sad world reality today with regards to the refugee crisis all across the United States. So we'll be doing quite a few things next semester. Hope that you will join us. As you see, we started with this home thought, the word to diverge from the semester. Home is where the what is, so we can kind of try to decide what the word home really meant. Was it a thing, a place, a feeling, a spirit, or whatever? We also then went to driven from their homes, talking about recent movements of people, and actually looking at the United States and seeing what changes people have made here. We then talked about biological homes, and today we're going to enjoy some students in Michelle Johnson's class in English composition and enjoy some of their perspectives and their stories, and hopefully you will join in with us. We have only one little speaker, but microphone, it does the job right here. If when our presenters, our provocateurs are speaking, if you'll just speak anywhere near here, you'll be fine. And if you have questions, please be nice and bold and get your questions out for us to be able to hear. Are we streaming, Chris? I think so. We are streaming so you're on live TV. So don't goof up. Yes, right. No, just be yourselves and have a good time. So we're going to look at literature and being able to express yourself about home. Our leader today is Michelle Johnson, who came to us to Sierra College in the year
1999 originally.
1999, and has been in the English department since then. Now teaches mostly English composition, I do believe. She's a very active participant in lots of student activities on the campus as well. And our guests today, our presenters today, will be Michael Liu. Wave your hand, Michael. Guess you're the only male here, so we're not going to have any confusion there.
He's the best. So
He's the what?
He's the best.
The best. All right. And is it Kimia? And Sarah? This is Sarah right here. So, and Ashley, and Kayla, and Estefania, excuse me, and Rosa is right here. Thanks to electronic devices and so on. So with that, I want to start right in. Michelle, I would like to first off ask you how this topic enters into your class and the three different, or the different phases that you work through in the different compositions that you request of your students, and how home is the core of the literature that they write.
Okay.
So if you need to advance this, although I don't think you do right now,
No.
you can do that. So welcome, Michelle, and students.
Do I need to come up here?
Just be close to this.
Okay, be right here. I don't want to stand in front of anyone. Well, oddly enough, I did start in 1999, and I've worked with this subject of home pretty much since, I would say, 2003. But because I'm a Gemini, I get bored easily, so I'm constantly changing it up. So it's gone through many morphs over the years. I started it out actually teaching in my English 1B class. Yay, here's Sarah. And so just looking at how home shapes and defines us, how home is such it's a great starting point. And the reason why I teach themes in my classes is because I feel that oftentimes students are intimidated by the writing process anyway. And so I feel like if students have a starting place, right, and if I present a general understanding of a topic, then when we start reading difficult works, whether it be poetry or nonfiction works, anything, that's where they start. They understand the work, at least from, well, Michelle picked it to fit into this topic of home, so how does this work fit in what way? And that generally starts our discussion. For the last 2 semesters, the way I start this semester out is we talk about our general understanding of home. We talk about our general understanding of home from a personal perspective, right? So again, it's that same idea that I want to make students feel that the classroom can kind of be a home away from home. And it was for me anyway when I was a student. And so the way we kind of approach it is we start with the personal and then we move outward. And so the essays that you'll be hearing, excerpts today, tackle that subject of what is home to me, right? We start with what we know, and then once we gain comfort there, we move into other facets. So the work that they were writing from is a book called The House That Made Me. And it's a collection of essays, but it's also utilizing technology, where Google Earth, have you all used Google Earth maps, right? And so they are like voyeurs on a home or a place of their past. So they use that tool to go and visit their home, and then they write about the home, they describe the home, and then they move into the stories associated with that particular home. And that's where you're going to be hearing the essays today. From there, we move into the subject of home from different perspectives. And then we're moving away from the self, because isn't that what we're trying to do in academics, is getting students to think beyond themselves, that we're more than the center of our universe, that there are other people inhabiting our homes. And the more we can start to begin to walk in the shoes and the skin of others, then we can understand that home isn't just how we define it. Then we move into the subject of war and home, because oftentimes war shapes and defines how we understand home. We use a graphic work called Harlem Hellfighters. And then the last work is this particular work, which Tina Six, our lovely librarian here, found for me several semesters ago, and I've been using it ever since. And so we make this journey sort of full circle. We return to home. And so the students are now working on their last paper, which is looking at individuals who return to a place of their past for the psychological benefits. What's the benefit of doing that? And the good thing too is that Berger, he teaches at Santa Clara University, and he's made 4 trips here to talk to my students for free. So again, I think that's a really powerful way for students to sort of establish new kinds of homes, and hopefully Sierra College is that. So Joe is far more pithy in his presentations and put together the introductions. So I think what would be best is just to turn it over to the students. They all have amazing essays, and I wish we had the whole day to listen to them in full, but what I've asked them to do is to capture their favorite parts of the essay that I said was just, oh my gosh, you have to read this essay, right? And they've willingly done this, and I think that they deserve a big round of applause to bolster them for being here to share. And I know it can be kind of nerve-wracking, so I think it's a wonderful opportunity for everyone to be here, so thank you for coming. And Joe, did I tackle everything? I've never done this before. So I'm used to just standing out in the quad yelling poetry, and that's pretty much how I roll. So this is like really professional for me. Anyway, do we have any questions? Are we ready to start? If you don't volunteer, I'm going to volunteer you. All right, Kayla. Miss Kayla Suarez.
Hello. do I start?
You just introduce yourself, maybe the title of your essay, and then maybe set it up for us.
Okay, well, my name is Kayla Suarez. I am a sophomore here at Sierra College. I am a biology major. I want to become a veterinarian. Fun fact about me is that I'm not originally from California, I'm from New York. And my essay is based on that.
Yeah.
So the title of my essay is called My Hood in New York, and I am going to read an excerpt from it.
Oh, I've got to record for Todd.
Okay. On summer days and nights, the children and I, who lived on the block, would find games to play such as tag, manhunt, and hide and go seek on the 4 garage levels. When winter came, there was snow. I would run out my apartment and building to see the other kids already playing, and I would happily join them until I got too cold. My favorite memories of home would be during the summertime. I enjoyed the times when I would wake up late and already hear the kids outside screaming, laughing, and playing in the courtyard. I would quickly get dressed and run outside to play with everyone until it got dark. My favorite part of the day would be hearing the Mr. Softy ice cream truck. I would run around the block to see anyone I knew that had enough money to treat me to a vanilla ice cream cone with rainbow sprinkles. That's my favorite treat in the world. That's why I can't wait until I get back home. When I was not outside and was inside my apartment, I would either be on the computer, laying down, watching TV, with the air conditioner running, or helping my mom with anything she needed help with because it was already hard to complete daily tasks around the apartment. I remember that I would often keep my bedroom door closed because I was hiding the fact that I was writing and drawing all over my bedroom walls, even though I knew I wasn't supposed to. I hated that I could not paint my room, so I became a secretive artist. I hid much of my artwork for almost a year until one day my mom busted into my room and saw my walls. Although I did not receive whippings anymore, but the look on my mom's face was just like I was being whipped. She yelled and yelled at me and gave me a mean look for the whole day. And when it came time to move out the apartment, I was upset because I knew maintenance would have to paint my memories white. I always loved thinking about my early life and thinking about my home at Cromwell Towers because it reminds me of the time I had with my mom when she was alive. I always cherished us in this space no matter if they were good or bad. I'm also happy that I was able to eventually move away from that building because I knew I had much more opportunities than if I had stayed in that neighborhood. I knew for sure that I will visit Locust Hill and see some familiar faces I remember. The children who are now grown up that I used to play with outside and family members who lived there. Google Earth had what the building looked like when I left. But I will always cherish the times when things looked just all right, and when I did not have to think about all the adult problems I have now.
So I think it would probably be best is just to listen to all of the stories. So maybe take good notes if you have questions for our readers, and then after we listen to each of the stories, we can have a question and answer session. If that's all right? Yeah. Good job, Kayla. All right. Next. All right, Michael.
Hi everyone, thank you for yours and Mrs. Johnson to give me an opportunity to speak here. This is my first time to speak in English in people. I'm come from China. I was born in 1970 in a small city in China. At that time, China is very poor, and my family had no house, even a single little room. My mother was a teacher, so the school give us a small room to live in temporarily. The small room is not like this. We put two bed in the room and the desk and the store. This is very small. So one bed is my mom and my dad, and another bed is for my sister and I. So my father find the wood board and fix one side in the wall, and in daytime we put it on the wall and use the hawk to secure it, and when night we put it down and give two little chairs, so we can sleep on it. In the daytime we put it on and put a small chair, small desk to sit here. We can have dinner, sit there, or I do my homework. I and my sister do all homework there. So this is a small room in school. So when the school is over, I don't need to go home. I always in school, and the classes begin. I can wait until the last minute. Ding, it's really, and I stop in my door at the door of my room, and this is the class. And I jump from here. Oh, this is my classroom. This is my classroom. When I was in grade 2, I was so easy to jump from my home to the school. And when I grew up, I can't sell a little bed with my sister. So the school give me a little storage to sleep. The storage is in a corner of a big hall, just like this, in a big corner, a huge corner, and with some wood board as walls. This is the storage for the school to put some item in there, to put some stuff in there. So my mother organized it and put a little bed in the storage so that I can sleep in it. But the hall was very old. It's more than 200 years old. It's made by wood. So it's many terrible wounds. They always come on the top of the hole. Sometimes they will drop up from the top to the floor. Sometimes it drop to my hand, to my shoulder. Sometimes it drop to my bed. And in the deep night, the quiet of the catch and the whisper of the wind made me very scared because I'm 10 at that time. I'm very scared, but I had to suffer because no other place to sleep. But after school, the whole school is my playground. No other student here. I can draw picture in the blackboard, in the classroom, and do anything I want. So my drawing is beautiful. My classmate give me a pencil, and I draw a pencil to me, and I draw a picture to them. One pencil, one picture. Another young teacher is living there. Was living there in a small room nearby my room. He liked me, and he likes playing chess. So he teach me to playing chess when I was children. So I played chess very well, and I think my math and my logical thinking, logical thought is very good. Maybe it's because of the practice of the chess, Chinese chess. So, but 3 years after the stories was dismantled, it disappeared. So I have no place to sleep at all. What can I do? I can sleep in the classroom. I can sleep in the classroom. In the evening, I can I can choose some desk of the student and put it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is the bed for me. But the desk is not in the same level. Some is higher and some is lower. So I have to choose the same high desk to put it together so that I can sleep in it. And then I settle them and I put my bedding on it and I sleep. But I have to wake very early. Because I have to put it in the original place so that the student can go and go before the student go to the classroom. So I remember in the winter is it is a difficult time for me because the window always be broken by the student and never be fixed. So in the winter, the wind is through my bedroom, so it's very cold. But the classroom is my study room at the same time. So there's no TV, no another things to distract my focus. So I only focus my study, my homework. So my score is very good. I sleep in the classroom until I go to university. I go to Pharmacy University in China, and then I get a good job and a lot of money to buy the house for me and for my family as a home. And I think God is fair. He give me a poor living condition, but he also give me a silent education condition. I feel sad about my home, my homeless, but it encouraged me to work hard, to have a strong will, to fight for me and my family. It led me to my success. I think this is my special home. This is my school home, and this is my thankful home. Thank you very much.
Go back and forth. All right, Ashley.
Okay. So, hi, my name is Ashley Anaya. It's my second semester here at Sierra College, and I'm a nursing major. My essay is titled "Comfort in Cream and Blue." So, at home, nothing really changed. The giant lemon tree continues growing taller and wider in my backyard. Whenever I was outside and a breeze would flow through its branches, I would catch the faint smell of citrus in the air. I remember my mom asking me to grab a lemon from outside for whatever meal she was making me. I would often find myself outside, laying on a thick green grass, looking up at the sky, wondering why the lemons on my tree looked like little yellow blobs. It was not until the summer of 6th grade that I realized I needed glasses. This solidified my stereotype as an introverted geek whose only friend was a dog. Daisy was a mixed Chihuahua and Dachshund whose favorite pastime was laying in the sun next to the lemon tree, on a tiny patch of dirt, taking naps. Her short yellow coat looked almost golden in the sun. She loved that spot. So my dad and I made sure she would forever rest in peace under the shade of that lemon tree when she passed away. I was shocked to see that my mom's flower garden in our backyard was visible through Google Earth. You can see a speckled array of red, yellow, and green. My mom loved begonias and the different shapes and sizes that they come in. I remember sitting outside talking to her as she watered them every evening. Their enchanting aroma would dance in the breeze along with the smell of citrus from my lemon tree. My mom taught me how to care for flowers and plants and how to tell when they need water. I cannot think of a time that I have ever seen a wilted flower in my mom's care. Her green thumb specialized in flowers, and she has passed her secrets on to me. Since the year that these photos were taken from my home in Milpitas, those begonias are no longer in our backyard. The combination of heat from this summer and the little knowledge my siblings have of flowers resulted in the last beautiful sign of my childhood forgotten. Moving forward from these bittersweet memories, my new home in Lincoln is something that I have learned to love. My mom has started her new collection of begonias here, and I am the only one she trusts to take care for them when she leaves to visit my siblings in our old home. While it was hard at first to move houses so suddenly, the 4 years I have spent in Lincoln are now some of the best years of my life. My home is now Lincoln, yet a piece of my heart will always be in Milpitas. I will always end up finding comfort in that tiny cream and blue colored home.
Hi, my name is Stephania, and this is my second semester at Sierra College. I lived for like 5 years of my life in Turlock, California. I don't know if you guys know where that's at. It's like near Modesto. But I was born in Santa Rosa. But this is just a little bit about my life. So virtually visiting my childhood home on Google Earth triggered a variety of emotions, good and bad. At a glance, it seems like as if that beautiful red 2-story home located on 1862 Porter Way had never changed since the bank took it from us in 2006. Once I zoomed in, I noticed that the garden that my dad built for my mom in front of the house, which was once filled with beautiful red roses, was no longer maintained. It was full of weeds and dirt. What a waste. My father is one of the most significant memories of my childhood. He moved me and my family from our first home in Santa Rosa to this big, beautiful home in Turlock in 2004. He was so close to purchasing the house across the street, but his princess, aka me, wanted the house on 1862. I can admit I was a spoiled brat. I was full-on daddy's girl. I had all the Barbies, all the Barbie houses, the nicest shoes, the prettiest dresses. The list goes on. When my dad would be gone for work, my mom still made sure that my 3 older brothers and I were well taken care of. She was like a superhero. But sadly, all fairy tales come to an end. Mine ended in 2005 when I came home from school one day and I sat on the kitchen stool ready to tell my mom about my day. Except there was no food ready. My mom was not smiling, and that was rare. She always had the biggest smile, so that automatically concerned me. She started whispering to my oldest brother. By then I knew what was up. My father had been arrested in Chicago, Illinois, and just like that, it was all over. I felt like I could not breathe. My mom rushed to try to stop the tears from rolling down my cheeks, but I just felt like I had been robbed of my happiness. My father had done a lot of illegal things because he thought we wanted the nicer, flashier things in life. But in reality, we just wanted him, his presence. He was not a bad person. In fact, he was the most generous, loving man anyone could ever come across. While he was gone, the bank began harassing my mom. We knew we only had a couple months left in that house, so we cherished those last couple of months as much as we could. With my dad being arrested in Chicago, everything became more difficult. We were struggling with money due to our trips to visit him, and we could no longer afford to visit him as much as we did once. Visiting my father was a very bittersweet feeling, but the day came that it was finally time to move out of my childhood home. The bank had finally won the ongoing battle with my mom. So we moved to North Highlands, California. I felt so out of place. My mom struggled with trying to explain to us why we could no longer afford to live on our own, why we could not buy new shoes or even new clothes for that matter. I had to borrow a lot of my cousin's clothes. The years went on and my dad was still in prison, and my dreams of living in my childhood home began occurring. The year was 2015 that my father was finally released. And of course I knew that happiness would not last, because I found out he would be released in Mexico due to his immigration status. Fortunately, my brothers and I were able to see him one last time in Rosarito, Mexico. We ate seafood on the beach and told funny stories about our childhood home in Turlock and shared many tears of happiness. I felt like a little girl at the moment. We had to return back to reality at some point, and that time came too soon. I hugged my dad like it would be the last time ever, even though I didn't know it was the last time ever. Then came the 14th of December of 2017. My family was struck with a really big tragedy as we found out that my father had been reporting missing, but soon they found him. Not the way we wanted to, though. He was a victim of the deadly violence in Mexico. He was innocent, though. After he did his time in prison, he was clean of anything related to the cartel, and the people who killed him did not even know who he was, what he had been through, and they had no idea how many people they had hurt. After this incident, I began to wonder if some people are just meant to lose. For a balance in the universe, I just did not understand. I still do not understand why. Now I just spend a lot of time looking up at the stars, knowing that my dad is one of them. He was my superhero, he was my star, he was my home.
You should get to know my students, all of them. They're awesome.
So, hi, I'm Kimia. I'm a Persian girl. I was born and raised in Iran, the country of love and poetry. And this is my second semester in Sierra College. And my essay is titled Somewhere in the Heart of a Cat. I've been living in the United States for 8 months, and even if I continue to live in America for the rest of my life, a big part of me will always be with a sitting cat. I remember the day my father bought me a map of the world. Back then, I was too short to hang it on the wall, so he helped me hang my map on the bottom of the wall in order for me to clearly see the details of the sitting cat, Iran. It is said that the shape of Iran is like that of the cat. If I close my eyes, I can see it now. If this cat had a heart, the heart would be where Tehran is, the most populous city in the Middle East, where people are more often sick and tired of the buzz and noise. Our family was one of the millions of families living in this crowded city. We lived in a 3-floor apartment located in the middle of the city. In Tehran, there is a widely held belief that substantive differences exist between those who live in the north and those who live in the south. My father, as the head of Iranian orthodontics, and unlike most of his friends and colleagues, never believed in such an attitude and thinking. Although our home was located in the middle of the city, we were happy and believed in wealth and love. Not too far north, not too far south, just right in the middle. When I visited my home on Google Earth, I was looking for the handwritten notes on the outside of my window frame on the 2nd floor, which I wrote to remember all the days I was angry when my mother did not take my side, or when I was so happy to get accepted to university, or the day my grandma left this world. The 3-floor apartment is where my aunt and her family lived on the 1st floor, our family was on the 2nd floor, and my mother's office was on the 3rd floor. Although her office was just 1 floor away from us, I remember calling my mom when she had patients every 30 minutes and asking her, "Did you forget us?" And every time I could hear the pain in her voice, "I'll be there soon, sweetie." Our home from above is my favorite view. If I ignore other concrete roofs of our neighbors' apartments, which were right next to our apartment, I can see 2 rectangles. One of them is the rooftop, and the other rectangle is our big yard from above, the favorite spot of the home. Our yard was the first place to gather when our whole family could not decide where get together. We spent Yalda nights, one of the Persian occasions, in our yards. and celebrating the longest and darkest night of the year. We stayed up until mornings, enjoying the last nights of the fall. Before everyone gathered to celebrate, I helped my aunt cover the yard with 2 Persian rugs. We enjoyed pomegranate, watermelon, and all those red fruits which kept my appetite going until the morning. And there were antique Persian bowls full of nuts. Tea was an inseparable part of our Persian occasions. I grew up listening to my father's voice reading poets for me all day, but Yalda night was not about my father and I lying down next to each other. This one night was about the whole family closing their eyes, making wishes, and waiting for my father to read a Hafiz poem loudly to all. A year before we came to America, my parents, my brother, and I moved to a fancy apartment in the north of Tehran with the most gorgeous view of the mountains and city lights, but it never felt like home to me. 8 months ago, when we moved to the United States, my father had to stay in Iran because of his job. He's the reason I turn to technology and FaceTime him every single day. Whenever my father is invited to my aunt's house, I beg him to video call and show me around. This might last for hours, and every time I cannot stop staring at my phone. I would continue calling my dad every other time and begging him to stand near my aunt's window where I used to watch my uncle watering the trees in the yard. When he shows me the yard from the window, the first thing that appears in my screen is the pine tree I planted when I was 5. It is the tallest tree in the whole neighborhood now. It is all there in my cell phone, a 3-floor apartment located in the heart of the city cat where I left my heart. Now I am all about experiencing new things and pursuing my personal legend in a new world, new country, America. But I take my memories and home with me wherever I go, a life that is no longer mine. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah Ito. I grew up in Japan and I recently moved to the United States. It's been almost a year. My mother's American and my father's Japanese, but I grew up in a Japanese neighborhood and I attended a Japanese public school my whole life. My title in my essay is My Sweet Paradise, and I wanted to show a new side of my home. So I focused on a tree shop that was across from my living home, and here it is. What was so wonderful about this tree shop were the tables and the chairs in the back, and that was my spot. This was where my friends and I met up. Many children from my neighborhood gathered there, and usually I would run into my friends without us planning in advance. It was like we knew when we needed to get together. We would just grab a chair from the back and start talking about random topics. It was not much of a conversation as we were focusing on sucking on our candies or feeling the sensation of melting chocolate in our mouth as all the while. Kids from all around my neighborhood came and went on their own rhythm. No one was there to rush us or control us. This shop allowed us to be free from the adults and the realities pushing us to adapt to the world. Some days my friends and I would talk about a boy in our class the entire time. Or some days I would just sit there for hours reading a favorite book or just inhaling the sweet smell of confections. The treat shop was where I brought not only the tasty pleasure of my life, but also where I brought my pain, happiness, and even struggles. Today, using Google Earth, I could no longer see the treat shop, as it was replaced with a new apartment complex a couple of years ago. However, even though I no longer have the visual form of the treat shop with me, the warmth and humble feeling of home stays with me no matter where I am on this star of various homes. Thank you.
I think there should be a nice background. Hello, everybody. My name is Rosa. Actually, my name is really long. I just shortened it with Rosa. I am from the Philippines, and I am an international student. Although I was so hesitant to come over, but through my amazing professor, Professor Johnson, she was encouraging me to do such. Although I am so nervous now, but I'm not gonna be held with this nervousness. I just want to share you my experience, and it's actually the experience with English 1A was very relevant to my life. It helped me to become a better person too, and then knowing that I can still connect my life, myself, way back home, even if I am in far away distance from my home. So my essay goes unshaken, facing giant waves. Okay, so I will not read all these things because this is too long. It will make like for until forever. So okay, so the time when I was doing my composition, I didn't even know what's Google Earth. I was very innocent. But then when I was able to do it, I was just like asking my classmates, oh, how I'm gonna do this? What kind of course is this? It gives me like hard time, but some students, some classmates, they're just too friendly, so amazing, they're very encouraging. So okay, somebody helped me to do that. Until when I saw Google Earth, it pops up on my computer. I said, oh, this is Google. So I was fascinated by the view of this new dimension. And at this point, time pushed me back to my childhood memories. I told you I'm not gonna read all. I don't wanna cry. So this time, I realized, like, when I was like virtually journeying through Google, I saw plans, I saw a lot of changes until I reached my country, Philippines. And then I realized like a lot of trees grown up so tall and straight. And then, I even saw like, oh, maybe one of these plants are my own, but I couldn't remember anymore because they're already growing so tall. And I was very excited. And then just going, like journeying through virtual, using Google, finally I'm home. And my father is the most significant memory to come to my mind. I felt a sudden pinch in my heart knowing he is no longer in the house. Swimming became my favorite leisure time activity, the best game I had with my father at the sea. I loved when waves are huge and enraged, ready to strike hard wildly to shore. But as ready as the waves were, I was also more than prepared, eager to run swiftly toward the raging waters as I threw myself headlong into the giant waves. I loved when I was rolled and rolled and rolled underneath the giant waves and then stood up strong and alive. And I would go, Papa, here I am. I am strong. I fought the big giant waves. I conquered. I loved seeing my papa smile, and then he would lift me up and carry me on his back. And most often, he would sit me on top of his shoulders as we walked towards home. So that was my memory with my dad. When I was a child, life was tough and hard. I grew up losing a portion of my childhood. I was raised up in a very difficult situation. It seemed there was no escape from the painful knot of the poverty. Many times going to school was like death. Waking up early in the morning when there was nothing on the table for breakfast. Papa had to boil water in an old ugly pot and made me drink the hot water with a little sugar in it. And my papa would say, this is better for your stomach. This will make you awake in your class. And out of my innocence, I was receptive to what my dad was telling me. Just drink it, it's okay, to make me alive in school. So, our house was only a small area made of light wooden materials, and it is composed of two small bedrooms. And I have six siblings, we are seven, and my parents uh, uh, nurture us in a loving way, and we are very protected, and then teaching us a lot of values in life, to be humble, to be loving, to be respectful. And that's what my parents are. So we are actually different from the neighborhood. We are we are in an inclusive but different from the neighborhood. And then home is like a square box filled with sweet memories and the building blocks of our lives. And then in this home, we gathered happily. Sorry for my accent. And our home was dark and gloomy in the night. We had no electricity. We used we used oil for a lamp to give light for the house. But it was cool because my dad and my mom was there taking care of us. And then our small house is situated near the sea, which you could feel the breeze of the ocean, wind softly blowing, coming inside the room like another friend. And then we could even hear sounds of the waves calmly coming through the shore. And then the sounds of the waves created a beautiful melody to our ears, and slowly making us drowsy and carrying us back to our room. So we fell asleep with my mom and my dad. And although life was hard, I am, what do you call that one? Hard-headed. At 16, I pursued to become a nurse. So I took up Bachelor of Science in Nursing, in which I know it was worrying for my parents because they don't know where to get the resources. But from my dad's perspective, he taught me how to become a positive woman. So I told him, don't worry about it. I will graduate to become a nurse. So every time I burned my brows to study for my nursing exams, my dad made sure the lamp did not run out of oil and die in the middle of my studies, because my dad has been very supportive no matter what, because he knows also he believed in me. That's how I love my dad. And then, sorry. Anyway. Okay. My father's wise words would strike deep into my bones. It's okay. Be humble and you will be lifted up. I like this one, especially when my cousins are just there to fight with me. But my dad doesn't want me to fight with them. He was just, be humble. Get away from the fight. Okay, so because the time I cannot do anything with that. And my dad would always tell me, you are brave and strong. I believe in you. One day you will soar up high. It always has been my father's words that ring in my ears and go deep in my heart even years later and far away from our box home in the Philippines. So my father's words had been in my entire sense. And then during my virtual journey home, I was in tears, seeing our new house replacing the old box home. It stands up so high and beautiful. Finally, this virtual journey brought me to my home, to my place, to my country. And then there was a lot of changes, and our box home is no longer there, and I do miss that box home. And it stands up now, a new house. It's huge, a story high-rise mansion, and it is comprised of many rooms for all of us. And this is my home. Although this was not the same as the old small box home that had the lamp fueled with oil way back then. The high-rise structure of this home reminds me of who I am today. It resembles strength, love, and courage that taught me to fight bravely against life's circumstances. It reminds me of how I conquered the fight and remained to keep in my heart the virtue of humility. It made me learn that life exists for a reason, like the oil lamp that existed for hope. It reminds me of my father's humble spirit who is watching me all the time and showing on his love. Whatever purpose, waves had to keep coming back to shore. In my life, I learned to fight and conquer, unshaken by the waves I face. That's my home. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I made it through without crying, and I was going to cry. I realized that it's hard to just stand up and read, and so I feel very honored that my amazing students, they're not mine, but I feel like they're mine. And I'm very grateful that all of you are so willing to share your stories, which is hard to do that. And I know that students will give me a hard time. It's like, can't you like pick happy stuff as subjects for my class? And I just feel like, you know, we walk around with all of this stuff in us all the time, and if we can find an outlet through writing, it allows us to sort of share our homes so we don't feel so alone. And I feel like if students can learn MLA, can learn to be better writers, that's important. But I always feel like when students can make a connection with who they are, why they are, then they move forward with a sense of purpose. And if I can be a conduit to help them on that path, I feel very grateful and lucky that this is my job. Does anyone have questions for the writers here? Questions that you wanted to ask? Mo?
For Kayla, what was the writing process like for you, and what was it like going up there and telling your story of your time?
I felt really nervous because I'm not used to sharing my stories with anybody. But afterwards, I felt good about it. Like everybody was, well, when I looked, everybody looked interested in what I had to say and what my story was. So, I felt cool.
Other questions? Hi, Jordan. Yes, Joe.
I just want to thank you for your bravery and for your creativity and for sharing your very personal stories. I found something just wonderful in each and every one of your stories. I don't have any specific questions because I have too many specific questions, but everyone has a different interpretation of home. What it is, where it is, how powerful it is, and you young people have done a marvelous job sharing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For Michael, at the end, you were talking about she gives us poor living conditions, but equaled like great educational environment. Who is she? Is that what you?
Sorry, he.
Oh, he.
Sorry, he.
Oh, and he.
It's God's. Is
God.
God's.
God.
Yes.
Or, okay. I was. He.
I have a question for the audience. Oftentimes when I assign this story, students feel like, or this assignment, the students feel like they just have to stick to the location, right? But more often than not, it's the stories that are associated with those locations that ultimately help us to determine their specialness. And so I'm wondering if anyone was anticipating essays that were just going to be describing a place, and then were maybe thrown off guard by the stories that were shared instead.
I was particularly impressed with the introspection, not only between the places where you grew up, but also the people in whose lives you had found something meaningful, and actually were able somehow to see out of the growth of your connection to your parents, father or mother, okay, you're able to actually to see some way in which you became the person you are now. I really was impressed with so much of the home, not so much house, but so much the home. And of course, I was very startled as I heard about the victim of violence. I mean, That is so scary to hear something like that, okay? Then to hear about stuff falling through the roof in China, I mean, those kinds of things, I mean, those are experiences which I'm sure most of us here in America have never experienced, okay? And then your situation in the Philippines, okay, when you're being able to listen to the ocean, hear the wind blow, I mean, those are things which most people never experience, but which are so much an important part of growing up. I know when I have been at the ocean, for example, I've been amazed at the noise, okay, that the water can make, but also the stunningly beautiful feeling that I have as a consequence of it. And Ashley, I was very tickled with how you emphasized, okay, so much about the garden, flowers, and your mom being able to put so many different kinds of colors together, and how that also influenced you to become the kind of person you are. I'm just very much amazed. I taught English for 39 years at college, both at BYU and here at Sierra College. And I mean, I'm just thrilled to think that students could actually write this well who are not necessarily students who grew up in this country, but who have learned to use the English language so profoundly well for the circumstances in which you live. I lived in Germany too, and I had to learn German and use German in school there. So I know some of the difficulty in learning another language. And also Russian. When I was in Russia, the same kind of thing. I mean, I'm just amazed at how well you people have done. Hats off to your teacher. Yeah, great. Great job.
Were you going to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, I just anticipated a lot of people's way of home being a certain location. And I just, I think it was a Stephanie that just her story was touching with that. How she said her dad was kind of her symbol of home, her star.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I very much agree. Like I could almost like depict a different, like it wasn't ever a house with any of you. Like you guys described your homes, like your actual physical house, like growing up or at different stages, like in the university. You described your house in the box that, or the box that you lived in, or the school that you lived in, or you know whatever sheltered you. But at the same time, each one of you had like something different that really was what like you guys focused on, like your beautiful childhood, you know, whether it be like the ice cream, the flowers, or the dad, or the ocean, you know, on the treat shop, and you know all those different things. I just really liked how you used, I don't know if it's different objects or, you know, interest of home.
Yeah.
Great.
One of the things I was surprised about was when Kayla was reading, and what I fell in love with her essay was her little hidden notes on the wall, right? Her little drawings, her secret artist. And then I didn't realize, but then Kimia's essay where she was hiding notes on the outside, right? So here you're worlds away, and yet we're all really quite close together in how we create our sense of home. And so, yeah, I just thought that was a nice surprise. I was like, I didn't even remember that, and it worked out so nicely. So, other questions or thoughts or observations?
I wanted to ask, did you develop your artistic talent to the point that you've been able to make money out of it? Or?
No, not honestly. No, I just really wanted to be able to paint my own room, but like since I couldn't, I just took to whatever markers and crayons I had. Yeah. And
I was hoping your artwork might have shown up somewhere, you know, and we were
oh yeah, I
able to
hope
discover
too.
it. That's so
Yeah.
exciting.
One day. Mo?
I noticed a commonality between all of them. It wasn't so much like how other people have said before, it wasn't so much the home, but it was always the memories that you all got from home that kind of bound all your stories together.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Alex?
So, piggybacking a little on what Joe said, and you know, I'm not going to be able to be as articulate as you guys were in your descriptions.
Oh, come on.
But I think, so first I wanted to congratulate you because what you did was amazing. It was just so well expressed, everything. And also you, because you were the one that designed this so that it came out, right? And Joe, of course, you because you organize all of this. But I think, coming back to what you were asking, it is a bit of everything, because I was listening to these different things, and I'm actually myself, returning to my home now in 15 days. So, and staying there. So it is actually all of this that you were saying. It's not, any particular thing, Don't make them write more essays, with what,
Well,
it's not that
they've got to
they-
finish one, so.
But,
yeah.
I mean, it's not that, I'm not sometimes saying that, you have to include everything, but it is, because you are taking into account all of these things when you envision this. So I wanted to mention that.
Well, and I think what was really wonderful about when Joe approached me about doing this is that, that idea of trying to define it, right? And I think that we get these locked ideas, and the more that we can expand it, the more possibilities there are for us to find it, right? And helping us open our minds and our perspectives to, there isn't one better than the other, too, which is often one of the things that students are troubling with, like, oh, if I don't describe it this way, then it's not good, right? So it broadens perspectives, which I think is incredibly important, especially in these times, right? Yeah. Joe, you had your hand up?
I have another question.
Oh, okay.
After they've written their autobiographies, I'd like to buy a copy.
Oh, okay.
And
Well-
one of the questions I had for Sarah that I found very interesting is when she said, okay, a Japanese father growing up in a Japanese neighborhood. Okay, you still use Japanese all the time, or some of the time? Or?
Yeah, I do. Like
Fantastic.
when I try to encourage myself.
Your
I-
English pronunciation is so excellent. I mean, your English pronunciation, all of it is so great. It's wonderful. Those of you who grew up in other communities.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask Michael, are you a pharmacist? You studied pharmacy in China? Or?
Pharmacy?
What was your academic at the university in China?
Yes. Why I come here? Because my daughter, 3 years ago, my daughter go to Sacramento in the high school. My family want to live with my daughter here. So I stopped my business and my family moved from China to here. For stay here, I had to become an international student to study so that I can go a F1 student visa, and my family can stay here for 3 or 4 years until my daughter graduates. Yes. So I not live in pharmacy. I live in school.
But your profession was pharmacy? Or?
No, my profession is computer science.
Oh, I see.
Computer science. About 25 years ago. 25 years ago.
I see.
Yes.
Well, I love to, for all of you, I love to wander, and we can't always go where we want to go. I've been to Trillo, thank you, but I'll go back there again. And I've been to Milpitas, and I think I grew up pretty near there. But I want to visit all of your homes, and you helped me learn more about the Philippines, about Tehran, about Japan, and I want to say that I wish Americans would travel more. I wish they would go to different lands and spend the time necessary, not just to go to the vacation spots to get a tan at the beach, but to go and eat the food and sit with the people and listen to the music and visit the churches and the religious institutions and share the common things that people brought to us today, which was the love of family and the beauty of having a family and a garden and a father and a mother, and that's pretty clearly what a home is, and you helped me visualize that. Thanks for painting that picture for me. I appreciate it. You said you had some other slides that you wanted to show.
Oh, I was just gonna finish up with a quick little video here
Okay.
to sort of, it's kind of cliche.
Let me see if I can help you with that.
Yeah. Let's see.
I gotta shrink it out of here and get rid of this. then you're going to do the video? Or?
Yeah. Right, it's kind of cliche, right? But I thought it was a nice way to conclude. Although, you know, I'm old enough that Wizard of Oz only came on at one time during the year, and it was a big event in my house. And I got to invite my friends over, and we got to have Jiffy Pop popcorn, you know, the thing that made the big thing, the big tin foil. It was awesome. And we'd have the pillows right in front of the television, and when the monkeys came, we were like, ah! But it's a classic, although I've been reading a lot of literature studies, and it makes it, The Wizard of Oz, sort of seem evil, as, you know, being able to go back and look at things does. But the message here, I think, is clear.
I may not have the sound.
Oh, we got sound.
Yes, I'm ready now. Then close your eyes. Tap your heels together 3 times. And think to yourself, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
How many people does it take to get there?
There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Wake up, honey. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no Dorothy dear, it's Aunt Em, darling. Oh, Annie Em, it's you. Yes, darling.
Hello there. Anybody home? I just dropped by because I heard the little girl got caught in the big... Well, she seems all right now.
Yeah, she got quite a bump on the head. We kind of thought there for a minute she was going to leave us.
Oh.
But I did leave you, Uncle Henry. That's just the trouble. And I tried to get back for days and days.
There, lie quiet now. You just had a bad dream.
Sure. Remember me? Your old pal Hunk? Me? Hickory? You couldn't forget my face, could you?
But it wasn't a dream. It was a place. And you, and you, and you, and you were there.
Oh.
But you couldn't have been, could you?
Well, we dream lots of silly things when we...
No, Aunt Em. This was a real, truly live place. And I remember that some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful. But just the same, all I kept saying to everybody was, I want to go home. And they sent me home. Doesn't anybody believe me?
Of course we believe you.
Oh, but anyway, Toto, we're home. Home. And this is my room. And you're all here. And I'm not going to leave here ever, ever again. Because I love you all. And, oh, Auntie Em, there's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Oh, I could have gotten that out of there. I thought it was part of the picture. Has anybody never seen Wizard of Oz? Just out of curiosity.
That's un-American. You have to.
Has anybody seen it more than 5 times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I want to thank you again, Joe. Thank you
No,
for
thank-
inviting us.
thank you.
Thanks to my students. Such a treat to have you all here. And have a great last week of class.
Yes, good luck to you all. Thank you all for coming. If there's any flexors here, there's a flex sheet here, but thank you all very much.